All right, I get asked all the time by government contractors, how can I meet federal buyers? It's the biggest question I get is how can I get in the door? How can I get more meetings with federal buyers? And I put out a lot of training on this, but the one way that I really like and I want to talk about today is making sure that your capability statement is helping you get in the door, not hurting. And so examples of it hurting is if it's too crowded, if there's too much information on there, it hurts you because the person says, well, I'll get back to it later when I have time to really consume it. So in this session, talking about capability statements that get read every single time is what I want to happen. And then to get you meetings, I'm going to cover in 3 different sections this topic. The first thing is I really want to dive into the purpose of capability statements. It's important for you to understand that capability statements are a marketing asset and they have a specific purpose. They don't do everything, they do one thing. The second thing I'm going to cover down on is what a capability statement should look like. I'm going to give you the best layout. I've been doing this for a long, long time. And forget about the fact that I've been in government contracting a long time. I have helped thousands and thousands of small businesses in the last 5, 6 years really look at the capability statement to turn it into something that is not winning awards, but getting meetings. And so we'll talk about the layout that I recommend for you. And then the last part of today's training is going to be how capability statements are received by the federal buyer when you're sending them. What's it like when they're getting it? And I really want to talk about that. So if you're along for the ride for capability statements that get read and get you meetings, put get meetings into the chat. Let me know that you're excited about the topic. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner, and since 2018, I've been helping people like you realize that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. When you follow a process A to Z, you're going to have repeatable, predictable results. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for your company. And as it relates to today's training, that's what I want for the capability statement, that it has repeatable, predictable results. It will get me meetings, right? It will get you meetings. So that's what we're going to cover down on. That's what I like teaching every single day. We've done almost 500 of these trainings in the last 2 years. If you haven't already, subscribe to my newsletter, the Government Contracting Success Newsletter. I put a ton of content out there that is 100% relevant to your efforts in the federal market as a government contractor, whether it's training or contact information into agencies or agency insight like strategic plans, whatever it is, it's exactly the information I gather for my customers. And I'm like, well, as long as I got it for them, I might as well share it to the entire community. I believe in see something, say something. And in this case, it's see a strategy, share a strategy. And then the last thing is I just wanted to say thank you to the people who registered. If this was you, thank you. When you register for training, it's a simple way to say thank you to us. We really, really appreciate it. That's the first thing. And the second thing is when you register, LinkedIn pushes this out to more people. They let other people in our community know that we're doing this training session, that we have this community, you and others. And so they invite more people in and we grow our community bigger and bigger. We're almost at 300 people live today on this training. That means I'm talking to you. You and I are talking for training, but you have a chance to network with 200 plus people in the chat and to engage in there. And so it's a really good community, but it starts when you register for training. I'm doing all sorts of training next week, and so watch for that in the coming days. Very quickly, just a quick shout out to one of the large companies I work with just on the side. A friend of mine is at a large company. They're doing about 120, and they're looking, and the reason I'm putting this shout out is because he wants to work with smalls. I train smalls, and so I want to give you an opportunity to meet a large. But he's looking for people in the cloud, the AI, or emerging technology space, and the cyber and data spaces. If that's you and you've got 3 past performances, reach out to me and just send me a direct message on LinkedIn. Send your UEI because I'm going to go look at your company really quick before I make an introduction to him. I want to make sure I'm sending him people that are kind of visually experienced, right? This is for a little bit more advanced companies. Okay, let's dive into the meat of today and begin with the purpose of the capability statement. The whole idea of capability statement is to get a meeting. There's 6 marketing assets that I teach in government contracting. It begins with the dynamic small business search or your small business profile. Then it goes to capability statement, your LinkedIn personal profile, your LinkedIn company profile, your capabilities briefing deck, and your website. Your website's last because that's the least helpful to you in government contracting, in my opinion. But the idea is these 6 marketing assets, each one of them has a specific purpose. And and just so you know, DSBS, it's about getting you found. Capability statements are about getting you a meeting. And that's why I titled today's training about getting read every time and getting you a meeting. Capability statements are not there to inform your buyer, right? It's not there to talk a whole bunch of stuff. It's not a white paper. Your website is there to inform. And so you want to understand the difference on that. So inside the capability statement, I'll talk about the layout in a second, but really the idea of a capability statement is we want to cover down on 3 main things in that 6 seconds that I talk about, and I'll talk about this a lot. The first thing you want to cover down on is communicating quickly. This is what we do. The second thing is, this is who has paid us, right? So I can come in and see what we do, and then down here is who's paid us. And then the last part of the capability statement, and this is in different sections, but it says why you. And so if you have tags like 8A or woman-owned small business, that's a little bit of why you. Contract vehicles that the government might be able to do set-asides, or the vehicles they might be able to do acquisition approaches to you, or other differentiators like ISO certification, or 10 people certified in this unique thing. One of the capability statement I'm going to show you as a real example today, they do American Sign Language or Deaf Communication Access, and they have certified interpreters. Well, that's a differentiator because there's some people out there who don't use certified interpreters. And so highlighting that, but really, really fast, I am communicating what I do, who's paid me, and why you should pick me. And I'd say that all this should be done in 6 seconds. 6 seconds is a fairly long time, actually. Because imagine if you're scrolling through social media, you're not going to give a lot of time. I've done over 1,000 videos on YouTube, and I can go into YouTube and see when, look at the timeline of my video, and I can see when people come in. I got a ton of people, and I can see when they leave, and I can decide which ones are leaving. Now, in my YouTube video, a lot of people come in who don't even belong there. Your capability statement will be different, but the idea is you can see the timeline, and it's the same thing on capability statements. How fast can somebody quickly scan your LinkedIn or your capability statement and understand this is what you do? Because you're just trying to get them to say, yes, let's have a meeting. No, I don't want to meet with you. You know what? You need to meet with Sally. And this is why I put here that your capability statement, the 3 responses you want are yes, no, or Sally. There's nothing else you want, right? And the only other thing you tend to get is, let me tell you later, kind of thing, the delay. And the delay is always because they don't know. They can't, there's too much information on your capability statement. So remember, as you move forward, I'm going to talk about this some more. Make sure that when you have a capability statement, it is not informing. It's just quickly telling them what you do, who paid us, and what's your differentiator. I'll show you actual capability statement in a second, but right now let's talk about the layout of a capability statement. There's 3 main sections that I block out on a capability statement. A capability statement should only be 1 piece of paper. The front side of a single piece of paper, right? 1 page. The front side only. Anything extra is just trying to inform them of everything else, right? It's this idea of like, whoa, I got to tell them about this. What about this? What about this? It's like, if you can't sell me in 2 seconds, why would I buy in 10 minutes? Somehow you have to be able to say, hey, we do flooring. No kidding. I do floor. I need floors. I have floors. Let's talk. Or you say, I do flooring. And they go, well, I do cybersecurity. So this is not a match. No, right? I don't need to talk to them a lot more about the quality of my floors and how I have many different types of floors or something. I just need to know, are you in cyber? Then you're probably not going to care that I do floors, right? Hopefully that makes sense. So the best layout that I like is in this 3 sections, right? A header, a body, and a footer. And in the header, and again, I'll show you in a minute, you have your company logo. That's hyperlinked back to your website. The next thing you have in the middle, you have the words capability statement, and right below that, you have your UEI and your cage code. Don't use the DUNS. That's old school. Get rid of it. Walk fast away from anybody who says, oh, you should still have your DUNS number. That's not embracing change. The UEI is the number. So UEI and cage code. By the way, a quick little tip. Never, ever share your EIN, right? I've been seeing companies do this sometimes where they share their EIN. That's basically your social security number for your company. It's your tax ID. That is a very precious number, like your social security. The whole point of a UEI is to protect the EIN. So that way the UEI is saying who the company is. So if you've got your EIN out there, get it hidden. All you need is your UEI and CAGE. So the UEI and CAGE, hyperlink them back to your DSBS profile, right? So you can take the buyer, if they're looking at it, if they click, they go right back to your DSBS profile, and they can walk down this channel of learning a lot more. And then the last two are tags and best vehicle. So again, I just call it tags, but if you're an SBA certified woman-owned or SDVO or something, go ahead and put that tag right on the top. We have in the industry this way of saying, don't lead with your tags, right? And what that means is don't say out loud, hey, I'm a service disabled veteran-owned small business. You know, you should love me. You should give it to me. No one's going to award you a contract because you're a minority or a woman-owned, service disabled veteran-owned, 8A, whatever. They're not going to award contracts because of that, right? They're going to award it because you're good at what you do. But they do have set-asides. So let your capability statements scream your tags. You keep quiet about it, and you talk about your core competency. Your buyers or whoever looks at it will instantly come over to the right and circle the SBA 8A logo, for example. They're like, oh, I see you're an 8A. It's like, perfect. So that's up there. And then I say best vehicle. And what I mean is, if all you have is a GSA mass schedule, put that logo up there. If you have a couple of schedules and STARS 3 is one of them, that's kind of your best one. Put that up there. Figure out your best vehicle. If you're going into the Navy, put your Seaport Next Gen. If you have a contract vehicle, some of them will be in past performance. That's where I put them. But your best one, put it up on top. And what you're telling people instantly is that I'm registered in DSBS and SAM. I've done all the I's and T's. And you can do set-asides with me because here's my tags. And by the way, I have a contract vehicle making procurement easy. I just said all that in the header in like less than a second. The next section is the body. And I talked about this a minute ago, right? But inside the body, we have a small about paragraph. It's just, think about it as your, not even your elevator pitch, but like your elevator hook to get on the elevator. And so I'll show you that in a minute. And then you have your core competencies. What do we sell? And below that, to the left, you have past performances. And I'll just show that to you. And then you have differentiators. And so there's 4 sections on the body. And these are the 4 that I put there. I'll show you in a minute. And then on the bottom is the least important information. Nobody cares what your email address is or your phone number is until they decide they like your information, they want to meet with you. So push all your contact information to the bottom. Your NAICS codes are the least helpful thing to anybody out there. I know people talk about putting NAICS codes in there, but a NAICS code doesn't tell anybody anything. It is too broad. When you look at this capability statement I'm going to show you, one of their NAICS codes is for translation services. Well, that could be Polish to English, or it could be American Sign Language. Those are radically different. And so push that to the bottom. It's not really helpful to people. And I say just put in like 5 or 6 that you like down there. And then that's where you put your point of contact in your website. Okay, so let me, I'll come back to this one in a second. Let me switch over and show you a capability statement. So let me come back here. I'm just going to go into LinkedIn because Nina here, Nina Martin, and you can connect with her. Let me close all of this. So she does deaf communication access, administration support. You can see this on her profile. By the way, she's in our community, so definitely reach out and connect if you're in the federal space. And but I want to show you her capability statement because this is an example of laid out, pure and simple. So she keeps it right here on LinkedIn. It's what I encourage you to do. Put it in your featured section. And I'm just going to open it up. You can see it here. I just wanted to show you for 1 second where it was at, but I'm going to actually pull it up here because it's a little easier for me to see. The first thing I want you to notice is how clean and crisp it is. It is not designed to win any awards. It's not designed to win graphic awards, etc. It's designed to quickly get a meeting, quickly get a buyer to say yes or no, or talk to Sally, right? Those 3 options, and we want to get them really fast. And so let's just start at the top here really quick, and I'm going to come across. Well, very quickly, you got the header, and then here's the 4 sections of the body, and the bottom is the footer, and I'll come down to these. But let me zoom in a little bit here so you can see it. So right here we have the logo, and fortunately it's done the way I want, which is it's hyperlinked back to her website, which is perfect, right? And then you can see the UEI and CAGE code. One of the things, by the way, that we do with UEIs and CAGE code numbers is when you're doing this in Word is where I do it, but just go to the character spacing. the space between each letter and expand it a little bit. Make it easy for the eyes to read. Okay, so we've got right in the middle a UEI and cage code. It's just saying immediately, hey, we're registered, we're good to go. And then she's got these two, certifications. So she has them over there. She's got a couple of contract vehicles, but she actually has more business through one-off contract vehicles that wouldn't be appropriate up here. So that's the that section. And then you come down into the body. We've got this about section. It's really straightforward, right? We deliver professional support services, staffing and recruitment, and deaf communication access to empower job opportunities and communication for all, while enhancing operational efficiency and reliability. That's that little capability type narrative that if somebody looks and they want to read, that's all they need to read. That is more than enough. Anything more than that, the likelihood of somebody reading it is dropped significantly. So let me zoom out a little bit so I can show you this, the core competencies section here. So right there on the right-hand side, and let me back up, sorry, 1 second. So I said a Z format. The header comes across from the left to the right. When you get to the logos, that's the top of a Z. Now we're coming down to the left. So through the core competencies to the past performances and down to the bottom left. And then you come back across and see all the contact information and differentiator, right? So let's zoom in here really quick. Let me just do this. It's faster. Okay, so the core competencies, right? I don't want to spend too long just talking about her core competencies, but when you come in, she's got them broken up into these two sections. We do professional services and deaf communication access. And so in professional services, a big part of where they move is admin support services. They do these admin support services throughout all the different main type of offices, and that's what they're trying to communicate by saying financial support, legal support, HR consulting. They're saying, hey, we play in that office. You use your keywords, but the idea is what she wants somebody to do who's looking at that is to quickly look and to say yes, no, or Sally, right? And they'll look in here and say, oh, you do admin support? Let's talk about this. Or maybe they go, you know what? We're an IT shop, or I primarily deal with IT contracts. That's not us. All right, thanks. See ya. You need no's and yeses, right? And then deaf communication access. You can see that she's really highlighting this. It's a big part of their business. So then coming down on the Z, you've got the past performance. And let me just zoom out for a second here. I don't need you to read so much all the words, but I want you to see how we break it up. And this is just my recommendation on how to break up past performances. I like breaking it up on here's who we've helped and here's example projects, right? So you can do what you want, but you notice how much white space is in here. It's designed to make it easy for a reader to quickly zoom in. So the top part of the past performance is getting Graham, so Nina's company here, to be seen as, wow, they're doing business in Navy, NASA, DHS, DOJ. I mean, even now I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, that's a lot, right? And so these are a lot of their current and some a little bit past customers. This is a big deal because it instantly establishes credibility. And then down below, we're saying, look, these are some of our projects that we're working on. And so, you know, as they come through, they look, and the idea is you're trying to get them to see their own need, the federal buyer's own need in these past performances. And then, so that's it, right? You come across and you see, what do we do? What do we do and how have we been paid, or who has paid us for it? And then over to the right here, the last thing we end up with is differentiators. And so I talked about, you just have to work to get your differentiators. I think it's actually the hardest section to fill out on a capability statement. And one day I'll do training just on that. But you can see here where she's got certifications. So she's talking about that. Here she put in contract vehicles as a differentiator. And what she's saying is, look, you can reach us in this way, or this way. And then she's dropping the fact that this company has an extensive amount of experience, decades of experience. And so in a very short amount of time, they've been able to communicate what do they do, who has paid them, and what makes them different. And then if that attracts a federal buyer or even a teammate who's looking at this, then they've got all the contact information down here at the bottom, right? And so we call this a Z format capability statement, where you just come across top left to top right, all the way down from top right to top or bottom left, and then across the bottom. This capability statement is designed to be read and get a yes, no, or talk to somebody else on my team as fast as possible. Okay, so I want to kind of wrap up talking about, well, what happens when they when you send a capability statement in, I get people talk about this a lot. Government contractors go to matchmaking events or they'll send an email. By the way, I never encourage you to send your capability statement before you have a meeting. And so we'll talk about that in a second. But when I'm sending it, what's it like when the other person's receiving it? And the first thing I want you to remember is that we are all now the social media generation. Even people like me, I don't know if you know this, but I'm not in my 20s or 30s, right? And even people like me, we're in the social media. And even people who are a lot older than me, we're fully embracing social media to a degree in our lives and in our day-to-day jobs. And so I want you to think of your capability statement as a social media post. First thing you got to do is kind of catch their attention. And then the second thing you got to do is make it snappy. If you've ever looked at any of my posts, I always try to make them very small sentences, like 150 characters or something. And compare that to sometimes if you look at other people's posts where it has these big paragraphs. They have very good information, but our minds are now attuned to going, that's too much. I'll move to the next paragraph, right? That's why we jump from header to header, subheader to subheader. And so you try to make your bullets the same way. And so when you look at Nina's capability statement for Graham here, you see it's all bullets. It's 14-point font, right? And so it's designed to make it very easy, like a social media post, to read. You could even read it easily on your phone. And so I put here in the third bullet, right? Do you like reading small font, 11-point font, 12-point? Then don't do it to anybody else. Me, I can read some of that stuff, but lately I've been finding myself fully embracing reading glasses, right? And there's a lot of contracting officers who are constantly having to read stuff, or small business professionals or program managers, right? Make it easy on them to make it where you use a 14-point font, because you don't like reading small. And if you treat others as you want to be treated, then you'll use a larger font. The second bullet here, imagine matchmaking, right? I talk about a capability statement. You go into a matchmaking event, you got 10 minutes, 15 minutes. What you want to do anytime you ever have any kind of meeting is to get past this. You want to get to the dialogue, right? So get past any of a presentation, get past the reading portion, etc. And so if you had a capability statement like Graham's, like Nina's there, and you took it to a matchmaking event, literally within 6 to 25 seconds, if they take extra time in a matchmaking event, right, they'll be able to circle things and they'll see it and they'll look back up at you. And now you can have dialogue about what you want to know about that agency. You really are not looking for them to pepper you. You want to pepper them with questions. You want to understand their needs more. But in a matchmaking session, you're helping their minds quickly go, oh, this is going to be a conversation around elevator services, or this is going to be a conversation around zero trust architecture, et cetera. So when you bring a capability statement that is both easy to read, 6 seconds, and easy to circle, like they can circle with their pens when they're sitting there with you, then you're going to make it easier to make an impression on that federal buyer, which will lead to the meetings, right? And the last thing to just remember is capability statements are like some of those social media dating apps where you swipe left, swipe right kind of thing. And that's literally what's been going on. I mean, literally that was happening before social media, when people used to get hundreds of resumes. They'd swipe left and swipe right on the resumes. Do you have a college degree? No, go this pile. Yes, go this pile. That kind of thing, right? Capability statements are the same thing. They're basically getting it and saying, do I want to meet with them or do I not? And you want to make it as easy as possible for them to make that decision. So that way you can get into more yeses and spend less time with the nos. Okay, so here's what I want you to remember as you finish up today's training and you're moving about. The first thing is just review your capability statement against what I said, right? If it's too heavy with words, then make it more about getting a meeting and less about informing. The second thing I want you to do is, like Nina, go put it onto your LinkedIn profile. Get that thing out there so that people can see it. Don't keep it secret. And then the last one is inside of DSBS. If you don't know this, go to connect.sba.gov and upload your capability statement into your DSBS profile. I actually saw somebody yesterday. I was doing some research on competitors, of my customers, and I saw a competitor who has a 2018 capability statement in there because it just got thrown in there accidentally. Go look at your DSBS profile today and see if you need to update it or if you need to add it at all. Those are great ways to get your capability statement out there, LinkedIn and the dynamic small business search.